We're going to give it one more minute and then we'll get started. This is being recorded. I hope everybody's fine with that. This after recorded, I will go ahead and share with on Facebook along with you. I call you T-Dub, but it's Latonia. And so I am going to just kind of give a brief introduction to me. And I'm Homes with Terroni, and I'm a realtor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And I work with buyers, sellers, investors, whoever. And what I do is every month I spotlight a special guest that comes on so that we can network and meet people and work together in the community. And this is what I do. So I reach out. So this month's spotlight guest is going to be Latonia Wallace. She's with Tax Talk. She has a lot of experience, and I'm going to let her introduce herself to us. And what we'll do is it's a 30-minute forum, so we can ask her questions. She'll tell us about herself and things that she knows. She'll give her information, and we encourage you to reach out if you have tax questions and talk with Ms. Wallace. So let's introduce yourself, Ms. Wallace, to us.
Here. Hey, good evening, everyone. How you doing? As she said, most people call me T-Dub or Tonya. I hardly ever hear Latonia, but my real name is Latonia Wallace, and I am the owner of Tax Talk. I have been doing taxes for the last, 26 years now. And so from simple returns to self-employed contractors, all types of things, college students, first-time filers, whatever. So the bulk of my client base are people that are contractors and self-employed, small businesses, just starting out new businesses. So I not only do taxes, but I also spend a lot of time educating people on starting new businesses. I also do a lot of networking with realtors, car dealerships, many other people, things that people need to know. So I don't just do tax, I do tax/finance as well. So I'm glad that Terroni, thank you for welcoming, and bringing me in today, because I have a long list of realtors, and let me tell you, I'm always looking to add somebody else to the team, because I believe wholeheartedly in sharing the wealth, so to speak.
Yes.
Each one teaches one, and we help each other, and that's the only way to make this thing go around. But yeah, so most times when people do get their taxes done, some people come to me and they start at a very early age. And once they get to about 30, 25, 30, something about that, around that time, right around 30, they start thinking, well, you know what? I think I'm ready to buy a home. So I have people that will come in from health insurance companies and say, hey, we see you got a big client base. Hey, let's get together. So I'm all for it. So that's kind of what I do. Anything that has to not just doing their taxes, but also educate them. Some people call when they're trying to start a new job. Simple questions as, how do I fill out this I-9? How do I fill out this W-4? And that's really like not so much our job as a tax professional, but I try to stay abrupt and stay up on the new tax laws and different things that's changing, because every tax season, there's something new. Every time we get new leadership, i.e. new president, Congress goes in the meeting, and from one week to the next, there's changes, there's law changes. And so that's what I'm really getting this time. A lot of people are calling saying, hey, is this true? Is this true? I mean, my phone dings like every 2 seconds with questions. And so some people feel like they're bothering me if they ask me. You're not bothering me, because if it's something that I don't know, I've been doing this business long enough to know that I can tell you, hey, you know what, give me a moment, let me figure that out. Let's figure this out together. Let me do a little research, because oftentimes I have clients that will call me and tell me stuff that they saw on the news late at night. I may have been sleeping. They say, well, you know what, late night, 10 o'clock news, they had this go on. And so I'm up here early in the morning reading emails and researching as well, so that, I don't know all, but I try to stay up, and I'm not afraid to tell you if I don't know, give me a minute, let me figure it out. So.
Yeah, and that's true. And thank you for that, because and you're right, with the changes from year to year and president to president, it always changes. Like a few of the questions that I have that's come to me is questions about, we've been told that once we changed our president, that we will have this $15,000 tax credit toward the houses.
Wow.
And
Okay.
and it's supposed to be getting applied. At one point, it's going to be applied afterwards, and this is what I've kind of learned through some of my courses. So the $15,000 tax credit, there, I was told that it was going to be applied afterwards. Now it may be applied up front to help with the down payment or whatever closing costs. So that's something that I know that we are learning about, because that's something that's going to come across. And at 15,000, it'll be for first-time home buyers, I think. So that's to help be the market. But you know, right now, I don't know how that's going to really work a lot, because with the market right now, it is a seller's market, and we have very low inventory right now. So, but if you're out there and you qualify, it's a good time to get in. But some of the other questions, Tonia, that we have that I have been told to ask is, now that we're in the pandemic and everybody's working from home, I know when you fill out your credit, your taxes, I'm sorry, there's something you can check now, or you're supposed to check, that is supposed to tell you that you can get some type of credit for working from home. Can you talk about that?
Sure. There are a couple of different things depending upon what type of business you're doing. Okay, so the first thing, if you're trying to prepare your taxes yourself, I suggest to anyone, if this is your first time trying to work from home or do some type of, some people it's just a little side business, just a little, you know, it's nothing major. They're not trying to get a 501c3, or they're not trying to actually get an EIN number, make it a full-blown business, but they're just doing it a little bit to make ends meet, or just trying something new. I suggest if you're just trying something new and this is your first time, that you don't try and do your taxes yourself. Yeah. Go with someone. It doesn't have to be me, but if you want it to be me, I'm going to help you just like I'm talking now. I'm going to walk you through the steps and explain it to you. They need to understand that computers are just that. If you don't answer questions a certain way, it's not going to prompt those other things that you need to know to come up. So what I'm having is a lot of people that are doing work from home, they're calling, hey, I did my taxes on TurboTax and I only got $2. Or I said I owed this. Well, it's because certain questions that come up, if you answer it a certain way, it's not going to prompt that next thing to take you to the next screen. Or it will say, if you did this, or if this doesn't apply to you, skip and go down to, you know, don't answer 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, skip down to 9. So I'm just, you know, trying to inform everyone, if this is your first time, please don't try to do it by yourself, because one, you're going to do yourself a disjust, you know, this, you're not going to do yourself a solid, because there's going to be something that you're going to miss. Now, what I'm referring to is when you first go in, if you're going to try and do it yourself, you know, let me, you know, be really honest with you. They're going to ask you questions. They're going to say, is it a side business? Is it just something I'm doing? Is this something else? Do I have an EIN? Do I have a separate business name? Make sure you take your time. Read. I can't stress that enough. Read the entire page, not just once. Read everything through and through to understand you're asking the questions, because a lot of times most people are speed reading and they're running through the screen so fast. Again, if you miss something, it's not going to prompt that next screen for you to be able to see the credits that you are entitled to get. But once you go in, and then if you do put certain things, it may make you put something on there that will disallow you that credit as well. So that's why I'm suggesting you get some help with it if it's your, you know, very first time doing it, especially with the things that we have the pandemic. Now, as far as credits and things that you can get, there are some credits that you can get, your home office. And so some people just, because they just don't know, you know, so if they come to me and they say, okay, well, I have my home, they have their mortgage papers, even if they don't have the mortgage papers, I can type in their home and you know, get the size of the rooms and different things like that. And I tell them, well, hey, which room are you doing it in? Because you need to know how big that room is that you're using. You need to know the square footage of your entire home or apartment, townhome, condo, whatever it is. But then you need to know the square footage of the room that you are actually doing your work in. It's going to ask you questions like, how much of your income did you make in this office or in this said room, or whatever it is that you, some people really have home real offices, and some people just may use part of their living room or part of their garage. It will ask you, is it in a garage? Well, what part of that? You can't use more than 300 square feet. So if you put 5,000, you're still not going to get credit for only 300 square foot. And then it's going to ask you, do you want to simplify or do you want to take actual deductions? If you're going to take actual deductions, that means you need to know everything. You need to know how much am I paying on utilities. If you're not that well-versed in math, I would say use the simplified version because it will give you the credit, but some people may actually have higher expenses than what the simplified version is giving them. So you need to know what it is that you're working with before you actually, get to the meat of it, because you need to know, do I have an office phone? Do I have a landline? Am I using a cell phone?
Right.
How much is my electricity? Am I using water? Am I using lights, gas? You need to know all of those things. And most people don't think to write that stuff down. And if you can go back and get your utilities and kind of look it out again, simplified will be better. But if you're one of those that like, hey, I want my full credit and you want to actually go in, then you have to do the math. You need to make sure that is correct because you don't want the IRS to audit you later and saying, well, these expenses are extremely high. Hey, now I need you to show me proof. Now, it doesn't mean that you're not telling the truth, but it just will elongate the process for you because you're going to go back and forth with them communicating, and the communication is not going to be via phone. It's going to be through the mail. So every time you send something to the IRS, you're looking at 2 to 4 to 6 to 8 to 12, 10 weeks for them to get back to you. So again, if you're going to try and do it yourself, try and use a simplified version. That way it will take everything that you're paying in a house and it will do those deductions for you. Also, you have a lot of people that are working from home. It will ask you about if you have vehicle expenses. You need to know, most people don't write down their mileage, but you can try and kind of give a pretty close guesstimate. But again, if you give something that's a little outrageous, then the screen is going to prompt you and say, hey, we noticed you put a lot of miles for this business, and we understand it's a new business. They will just tell you these things because you don't want to have a high risk factor by the time you get to the end, which means you stand a high risk of being audited. Again, people are afraid when they hear the word audit. They think, oh my God, I'm going to get in trouble. I'm going to be in an IRS jail, those type of things. That's not so. As long as you have the documents to prove what it is you're saying, you're safe. It just means that it's going to take longer for you to get your money if you have a high risk, because they will ask. And then what you run the risk of being flagged from here on out. There's no way to decide who's going to be flagged, how many times. Are they going to flag me for the next 10 years? But it's solely up to the IRS. So once you get into that red area, it's up to them when they decide to stop asking you those questions. It may be indefinitely for the rest of your tax life. It could just be that 1 year, but there's no way to say it. And a lot of times people get misunderstood and they think, well, my tax preparer did something wrong. No, we put in what people give us. Right. And some people that do taxes, I'm not saying anything about anyone, I can only speak for myself, but some of us, once we take classes, and some people might continue their education, but we're taught to only put in what you give us. But someone like myself that's been in the business a really long time and have done with, customers of all walks of life, we know things to ask you that the average preparer may not ask you. That will be more advantageous and help you maximize on your return. So people kind of get a little testy, like, why are you asking me all these questions? It's to your advantage to be patient, answer the questions, and anything you have, even if you think it does not matter, bring it, use it, look at it, keep it. Don't throw those things away. Even if you need to, if you just want to get rid of receipts and things like that, scan it into your computer, email it to yourself, but kind of keep those things close to you if you're going to be doing home office. Because I'd rather you have more than not enough, and then they come back and ask you can't prove what it is that you're saying that you're doing. Right. But vehicle expenses, home office, go ahead. What were you going to say, Terroni?
No, go ahead. Vehicle, good. Go ahead.
Yeah, vehicle expenses. Now, let me get back to vehicle expenses. They're going to ask you, depending on which each software is different, whether you're doing it yourself or whether you actually go to a tax preparer. Every software is just a little bit different, and the questions don't always come in the same order, but it's pretty much going to be the same questions. They're going to ask you, how many miles? Did you write this down? Do you have records of it? How many miles did you do for the entire year? What did your odometer read for the entire year? Then it's going to ask, what were your business miles? What were your commuting miles? Some may ask, what's the commute from your job to your place of business? Or if you have a side office, a storefront or something like that. Of course, if you're working from your home, you don't have mileage for that. But that doesn't mean that you don't have mileage where you're out buying office supplies, or you're out meeting customers, or you're taking shipping and you're taking things to the post office, or your trips to the bank, where depending on what type of business it is that you're doing. So you're going to have some amount of mileage, but you want to make it look realistic. You don't want to put, I did 30,000 miles and you never leave your home, you know, and
So
you
let me
work
ask
solely
you,
from home.
let me ask you a question about, we're talking about cell phones, because most people, everything they have is cell phone now. And now that we're
Sure.
working from home, a lot of companies are calling us on our phones, our personal cell phones. And can we, now that we're working from home, is this something that we can actually use as an expense as far as our cell phones?
Absolutely. And what I advise people to do is, there are some slots that say other. Okay, they'll have the spaces when you're doing what's called your Schedule C. When you go on a Schedule C, they will ask you something that's like NEC. It will have that an acronym, NEC/1099/1099K, 1099 miscellaneous, all those things. It's asking if you have any income from any of those places. And so some people are using Square, they're using PayPal, they're using eBay, Amazon, they're using what is this other thing? Cash App, all those types of things. That is where that goes. You didn't ask me that, but I want to make sure I say that because I'm trying to remember how the sheet actually looks so I can speak to all those questions. And then it asks about any miscellaneous type of income, cash, or whatever you have. Once you get past that, then it'll ask about the expenses. And then you'll go in and you may have supplies. You may have licenses that you have to have, taxes. You may have rent. You may have storage, you know, all those types of things. As you get beyond that, there will be empty slots just beyond meal expenses. And that's where you would put that. I suggest that people put communication, because sometimes some people put cell phone, and every now and then, okay, this is all, you got to realize when you're doing taxes, you have human beings looking at your records.
Right.
And it's subjective. It's what that person is feel like doing. It's just like judging a dance contest. It's what that person is feeling like that day.
You're right.
So needless to say, if you get somebody that's being a stickler, like, oh, I don't know, they're using a cell phone, I just tell them don't even put cell phone on there. Put communication. Communication could be landline. Communication could be cell phone. Communication could be the internet, because most people have to have internet. You can actually lump it all in there together if you want. But if you want to just break it down, put landline, then communications, put that cell phone and then the internet together. Most people, once they do that, it's going to be $4,000 or $5,000 for the cell phone and the internet together. So where those empty lines are, that's where you put that. But like I said, I suggest most people put communication, because if they ask you any question, you can always explain. That's my cell phone, that's my landline, that's my internet. Some people actually have to have cable or whatever it is they need, you know, depending on what type of business they do. Yeah. If you showing homes and things, you may need cable to show them something on there, but put it under communication. That makes it easy. And then you don't have somebody that's having a bad day looking at your paperwork, auditing you because they think that's too much to spend on a cell phone, but they don't know. You have Sprint, AT&T, they have these hidden fees. Your cell phone might be $7,000 a month. It depends on what plan you have. But again, take all the guesswork out, just put communications.
Okay. I want to open it up to the panel. Does anybody have questions for Tonia regarding anything? If you do, unmute yourself and please ask a question. Nobody, that's no questions yet. Okay, so if y'all do, please just unmute and ask a question if you have any questions. Another question that was being asked is I think I wrote this down right. So we talked about the cell phones, we talked about the home office. Nobody has questions. I was hoping I had some. So keep talking to me, Tonia, and I'll remember what the other question was, because I wrote it down and I don't know what I wrote it down. I said, we talked about the office. We talked about the cell phone. We talked about
vehicle
business. And I do agree with you. Let me just chime in on when we have the different softwares that we it is better for you to use a tax expert because like you said, the system is only going to give you so much. And that's why if you pay basic, you're going to get basic. And then they'll upgrade it to 49 if you want a little bit more. Then they'll upgrade it a little. There's a reason for them upping it a little bit because they're only going to give you, what's it saying? You pay for what you get.
That's right. That's right.
So here's the question. So if I have business expenses, what is the time frame for me? Do I have, if I've missed something filing it this year, can I add it to my next year's tax or is it just a wash? Is there any type of amendment period for us as business owners?
Okay. Well, they generally do their best to try not to go outside of the scope of about 4 years before they kind of question things, or you really, if you do it and you forget something, you want to amend it and put it on the year that you did it in that same year. Although there are some things that can be rolled over that you're continuously paying, there are some things, but that's kind of here or there. You kind of have to use your judgment. It's a judgment call when it comes to that, depending on what it is. Like you said, you have software. There are some software that we use that we have to pay for every single year. There are some software that you may buy. You buy it one time and you can use it multiple years. Yeah, you can still, once you go, okay, there's a place in there that asks if you have any big purchases or any things that you need for business, i.e. you mentioned a cell phone. Somebody may have bought a brand new cell phone and they want to go in and put, well, this year, the new iPhone 12 or whatever it is come out. I want to do that. It will ask you, do you want special depreciation? Do you want the 179 credit? Do you want this allowance? Do you want to be able to deduct it multiple years? I suggest to people when it comes to things like that, take 100% right then, because there's no guarantee that you'll have it next year or the year after, whatever. For me and for my clients, take all your full deductions right then, because something could happen to that phone. You say, well, I just want to take it over a matter of 5 years. You see where it may say makers, MACRS. Makers is talking about depreciation. Yeah. Why would you want to take it over 5 years? And there are some people that every year a new phone come out, they want a new phone. Why would you do that? Go ahead and take it all out if you're one of those type of people and you know when the next new thing pop, hey, I'm going to get that. Go ahead and get your credit for it at that time, especially if you need those credits and deductions in order to get some type of refund, or for some people, they know they're not going to get a refund. They just don't want to be in what we call the red. They don't want to owe. And if they owe, they want it to be very low that they owe. But understand this. Now, this is your department when it comes to real estate, realtors, homes, and everything. So I know you can agree with me on this. What I'm also having is a problem with a lot of clients. They come in. For example, I have a client that makes $400,000 a year. Mm-hmm. He comes in. He's in electronics and technology. He comes in, his supplies, his software, and everything he buys, it's real. He spends about 150, almost 200,000 just on those supplies. Now, I go in, what you give me, I'm going to put it in as you give it to me. So once I put that in, and then he has a building, he's paying rent every month. So everything is times 12 that he has. He has rent, he has internet, he has cable, the little Ozarka water machine, all types of things. People don't even think that I can deduct the Ozarka water machine. Yes, you can. If you have janitorial services that come in and clean for you, yes, you can deduct that. If you have people that you pay to do maybe a little marketing or drop off the deliveries or something, you can deduct those amounts. But when it gets to a certain amount, now you have to do a 1099 for that person. So you want to be careful that you're not saying you're paying a lot of people to do outside contracting and work for you, because then that puts you in a different realm as well. But you put that in and you get money back. Now this person wants to buy a home. Okay, I refer them to one of the realtors that we have, and they say, oh, well, it looks like I only made $25,000 or $45,000. I can't buy a home, but I make $400,000 a year. Okay, well, you have all these expenses, so you got to decide. You can't have it both ways. We can't, right. You can't take all the deductions and don't want to owe and get a refund and then make it look like you can't, you don't have anything to show that you made $400,000. So you got to choose which way you want to go. And people don't understand that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
That's good to know. So when it comes to me coming to you or one of us coming to you, because a lot of the people, like we have some couple investors on here as far as also as realtors, what do I need to do when I'm using a professional tax advisor or financial advisor? What are you looking for? Because I know you don't want to do my bookkeeping, but you will do my bookkeeping if I need to, right?
Sure,
But
absolutely.
but help me with what would make your life a lot easier when I come to you to do my taxes.
Okay. Now I have one of two customers. Sometimes I do have customers just come and bring a box and they will drop it off and it has everything that they've done all year.
Okay.
In all fairness, I'm just saying, I tell them, people ask all the time, what's your rate? You can't tell you what it costs because I explain to them that it depends on what you need. It depends on the worksheets. It depends on the documents you have. So people don't understand it's really not fair to ask us how much will you charge me? And you say, oh, I just got a simple return. And I tell you, it's going to be 125, 150. And then you come with this box and I've spent 10 hours adding up all these expenses and divvying it up. So technically we can charge you whatever we want per hour, especially in my case, I've been 26 years. However, I don't do that to people because they wouldn't be able to afford me, Right. So I try to keep it realistic and I tell them, we can charge you per hour. So we have that option to do it all for you. Or what you're asking, I have some customers that will come in with their things on a spreadsheet. Or they will keep the little expense book. They're very small ones that you can put in your pocket, like a pocket calendar. Yeah. You can do that. Yeah. You can just add your things up as you go and by the month, put how much each expense is or put it on a spreadsheet. And if you bring that's a lot quicker and will keep your costs down. And anything that you spent your money on, don't think it has no value because there may be a place that it can be put that you can't see. And it may fit somewhere. So make it easy for us, make it easy for us, but also easy for your pocket as well. Right. To do either a spreadsheet or an expense book. Okay. And it could be a little small one and have like, okay, this is how much I paid in utilities. This is how much I paid in supplies. This is how much I paid in, people will put gas. We technically don't put gas. They don't have a spot for gas, but they do have a standard deduction for vehicle expenses. And that's where that's tallied, but people don't understand that because sometimes you can put gas on there and they may disallow it because they say, we're not paying for your gas. We're not giving you credit for your gas. So that's why I suggest a lot of times people use simplified versus actual expenses. So some expenses that you're going to have, and you got a question about, write that down too. Anything you think that doesn't mean anything, I would rather have more than not enough for me and most of us as taxpayers, because the more you give us to work with, the more we can help you maximize on your return.
So let me ask you another question because I was told this and I wasn't aware of this, but when we talk about transportation, when we're itemized, for me to drive from my home to my place of employment, I was told that you could actually use mileage as a deduction on your taxes for your travel from your home to work. And a lot of people, we don't do that because we didn't know that we could do that. Is that correct?
Sure. Now there's two different things. I'm going to speak to both things of what you're asking me, and they both have to do with vehicle expenses. There are two types of people. There are people that are self-employed that have vehicle expenses, and there is a form called 2106, unreimbursed employee expenses. Yeah. That is another document, another worksheet, which yes, it costs a little more money. It's not going to break the bank, but that's why I explain to people, worksheets is what help you get your money and your refund and your tax liability down. So you want to use as much as you can. On that 2106, if you just decide to go that route and you're working for a company instead of yourself, there's going to be some on there that ask the same questions about the vehicle. It's going to ask you what type of vehicle. Is it under 6,000 pounds? Is it a small truck? You need to know all of those type of things. It's going to ask you, when did you put this vehicle in service? Which means, when did you start using this for this particular job? And then each year is going to prompt and ask, did you do away with that vehicle? Are you still using that vehicle for this job? So these are things that you need to tell your tax preparer, or you need to be mindful of that then also it's going to ask all miles driven for this vehicle. It's going to ask you, did you keep a record of it? Then it's going to ask you commuting miles. Some software is really nice to us and says, how many miles is it from your home to your job, and will calculate it for you. But most of them you have to calculate yourself. So yes, you can either do it on a 2106, which is an unreimbursed employee expense, which means you don't get paid for the miles,
Right.
or self-employment. You can take the mileage deduction for that. But not just the mileage, you can take, if you've taken public transportation, bus, train, if you've taken a plane, if you have tollways, if you have parking fees, if you get a parking ticket, anything that has to do with that vehicle, if you've had to do some maintenance to your vehicle because you're trying to get back and forth to work. So it's a lot more detailed than what people think.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just my gas, but that's mostly what people say. Well, I paid $300 worth of gas a week. Okay, well, but what about those oil changes? And what about those tires? They
Right.
don't think about those types of things.
And tires
Yes.
are expensive.
Yes.
So, okay. Does anybody have questions again? We're, you know, I know our time is about up. It's about 30 minutes, and I appreciate Tonia coming in. Tonia, please leave your information, how we can get in touch with you, your business hours, your email address, everything, so that if someone is needing your assistance, please leave your information for us.
Okay. Well, again, the name of the company is Tax Talk, and the slogan is Tax Talk where money walks, you know. The email is taxtalkmoney@gmail.com, and it will come directly to my computer as well as to my phone. I will even see it on my watch if you email me. You can call me. Well, I prefer most people text, because out of respect for customers, if there's a customer in front of me, I won't pick up the phone. But if you text me, then I will most certainly respond to you. And when I'm free, I will call you right back. But call me, text first at 214-853-2332. You can also reach me by fax if you want to fax me a document and ask me a question about it. 214-484-9234. You can inbox me at Latonia Wallace. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a page, Tax Talk, as well. You can send me instant messages there. You can message me in the comment section. You can pretty much find me any way you want to communicate with me. I will get back to you as soon as I see it.
That is so awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to be recording this. I appreciate your time. I'm going to be talking to you because I got a lot of taxes that I got to get taken care of with my real estate and work on things, because I have some unemployment tax in there too. So,
Okay.
I will be reaching out to you very soon. Thank you for your time.
I'm glad you said that, Terroni. Just to remind people too, a lot of people through the pandemic got unemployment. We didn't even touch on that.
Yeah.
Yes, people, you need to file unemployment taxes as well. And no, you would not see a really big return if you did not have them take out withholdings. People are really, that's the big thing that I'm getting from a lot of people. They're saying, well, I worked a little bit, but through the pandemic, I got unemployment. And why I'm not getting as much money as I was getting? Well, it's unearned income.
Yes.
So you cannot get earned income credit on unearned income.
Yep.
And I really try to get people to understand there is a difference.
Yeah.
There is a difference.
And that's why I said I got so many moving pieces. So I'm like, I'm not going to even try to do it myself. I'm like, so I want to know what I needed to get together. So when I send it over to you, it's like, okay, here we go. Let's get it done.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. And
thank you for joining Homes with Terroni. Yes. I'm with you. I'm here. I'm trying to network. I want to work with the community. I want to work with us, because it's so important that we build each other up so that our business
empower.
Yes, we have to empower each other
empower
so we can
women.
Grow. And that's what I'm all about. I'm like, woo, all of this.
Empower women, yes.
But thank you. Before we go, did anybody else have any questions? So I think that's it. Thank you again, Tonia T-Dub, Tax Talk. Look forward to doing another spotlight with you down the line.
Yes, ma'am.
So have a
anytime, please just let me know. And feel free to pass my information, my number, email, whatever, to
Most
anybody who may need it. And I'll actually go on, is there a way I can go on the page and drop the information for them? I can type it in for them?
On here, you can do it on here, but I'm going to post this recording onto
Sure.
Facebook and everything, and go on, and you can add your comment on there, put all the information. I'm gonna tag you on it.
We'll do. We'll do.
Alrighty.
We'll do. We'll do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Have a
so
great
much. Have a
evening.
good night.
Thank you everyone for
Bye.
joining us.
Bye, everyone.